Welcome to all. In the last class, we have discussed about CIRP process by the financial creditor. Today, we are going to discuss CIRP, initiation of CIRP by the operational creditor. Who is operational creditor? First of all, before discussing the operational creditor, initiation of CIRP process by the operational creditor, we should know who is operational creditor. So section 5 subsection 20 defines the term operational creditor. Operational creditor means a person to whom an operational debt is owed and includes any person to whom such debt has been legally assigned or transferred. So operational creditor means any person to whom operational debt is owed. So then what is the meaning of operational debt? Section 5 subsection 21 defines the term operational debt. So operational debt means a claim in respect of the provision of goods or services, including employment or debt in respect of payment of dues arising under any law for the time being in force and payable to central government, any state government or local authority. So from this definition we can understand that operational debt means it should be a claim. The important terms are claim, and it should be in relation to provision of services or goods. So maybe including employment, and maybe it can include any amount which is payable to central government or state government, as a case may be. Now, in the case of New Okla Industrial Development Authority versus Anand Sonbhadra, in this case, the Supreme Court held that there are three categories are included in the definition. So the Supreme Court has, in detail, they have explained, they have interpreted the definition, and they have categorized the claims into three categories. Any claim that arises out of the provision of goods is considered to be operational debt. Any claim that arises out of any provision of services. So whenever you are selling the goods or whenever you are providing the services, okay, so you are supposed to pay some amount. So that is called as operational debt. Any debt arising out of any law for the time being in enforcement. So suppose take the example, because of the law, as a process of law, maybe I am liable to pay some amount. The court of law has given one judgment. There is an award is there is a decree is there, whereby I am liable to pay some amount to opposite person. So even that is also considered to be operational debt. Like taxes, if you take the example, life taxes. Claims arise out of the provision of goods. Now let us try to understand. In the previous slide we have discussed any claim that arises out of the provision of goods or any claim that arises out of the provision of services is considered to be operational debt. Now let us try to discuss what is the meaning of claims arise out of the provision of goods. What is the meaning of goods? First of all, we should understand what is the meaning of goods. The definition of goods is given under the Sale of Goods Act. Section 2 subsection 7 of the Sale of Goods Act defines goods means every kind of movable property. So what is the meaning of goods? Goods means every kind of movable property. So whatever may be the movable property, okay, so where I can move, that is called as goods. Other than the actionable claim and money. So goods does not include actionable claim and money. So you cannot include the money because it is sovereign currency. So that's why you cannot include the money. Okay, so actionable claim and money. And includes stock, shares, growing crops, grass, things attached to or forming part of the land which are agreed to be severed before the sale or under the contract of sale. So if you observe the definition of goods, goods means all kinds of movable property. So I can say other than the immovable property. But what else is included? In the definition of goods, stock is included. Okay, so maybe opening stock, closing stock. So when you are having the inventory, so stock will be there. So that stock and shares, growing crops and grass, things attached to or forming part of the land. So growing grass, growing crop, grass, things attached to things attached or forming part of the land, actually they are all immovable. But once if you agree to separate it, and once if you agree to separate and sell it. Let us take the example of iron ore. It is there on the land actually. Okay, so it is immovable, but you are extracting the iron ore and you are selling the iron ore. Okay, when you are agreeing to sell the iron ore and when you are extracting the iron ore, it is called as good. Okay, so that is the definition of good. Then what is movable property? Because if you observe the definition of goods, goods includes all kinds of movable property. Then what is the meaning of movable property? Section 3, subsection 36 of the General Clauses Act defines the term movable property. Movable property shall mean property of any description except immovable property. So fact to say, the General Clauses Act, it is not defining what is movable property, it is saying, rather it is saying except immovable property. So that means other than the immovable property, every description of the property is included within the meaning of movable property. Now let us try to understand what is immovable property. Immovable property shall include land, benefits to arise out of the land, and things attached to the land are permanently fastened to any attached to the earth. So whenever if something is immovable, that is something which cannot move it, anything that is attached to the land, any benefit that is arising out of the land. Suppose if you take the example of building, that is immovable property. Okay, things attached to the earth are permanently fastened. Maybe you are installing one plant permanently where you have to dismantle it. If you want to move, you have to dismantle it. Okay, so that is permanently fastened. Okay, then that is called as immovable property. So goods includes anything which is not permanently attached to immovable property. Okay, so it is not permanently attached to the immovable property, such thing is considered to be goods. So for example, software, electricity, water, okay, because it can be moved from one place to another place, though you cannot see the electricity, but it can be transferred from one place to another place. Okay, so they are considered to be goods within the meaning of Sale of Goods Act. So the same definition we can take it over here. And if you observe the previous slide, let us go to the previous slide. Okay, what is considered to be operational debt? Any claim that arises out of the provision of the goods. We have discussed what is the meaning of goods. Now, any claim that arises out of any provision of services. Now, let us try to understand what is services. Provision of services. So, there is no definition under the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. So, the definition we can take it from the Consumer Protection Act. Section 2, subsection 42 of the Consumer Protection Act defines the term service. Service means, it's a very broad definition. Service means service of any description which is made available to potential users and includes, but not limited to, the provision of facilities in connection with the banking, financing, insurance, transport, processing, supply of electricity or other energy, telecom, boarding or lodging or both, housing construction, entertainment, amusement, the purveying of news or other information. So like this, they have included service means any kind of description, okay, which is made available to the potential users. Okay, it can be banking, financing, insurance. Okay, so like that we have, there is a list is there. Okay, so all these things are considered to be services. Okay, then any transaction that pertains to the performance of any function for the sake of another would fall within the realm of service. Okay, so what can be included in the definition of service? Okay, so in the definition of service, any transaction that pertains to the performance of any function. Okay, so I am performing something. Okay, so for the purpose of other person, I am performing something. Okay, then when I am performing something for the purpose of other person, that is called as services. Okay, then the service must be, okay, what is essential here? The service must be rendered to the corporate debtor. Okay, so it is not to the third party. So if the service is rendered to the third party, then that is not an operational debt. Okay, so if you want to consider any service as an operational debt, I mean rendering of services as an operational debt, the service must be rendered to the corporate debtor and not to any other third party. Okay, so it was held in the case of MB Software Private Limited versus Silicon Private Limited. So whether employee due or workman dues are operational debt, is it considered to be an operational debt? So NCLAT, in the case of Kishore K. Lonkar versus Hindustan Antibiotics Limited, it was held that all dues, all forms of dues, including dues in the nature of provident fund, gratuity, bonus, welfare claims, etc., everything will form part of the dues owed to the creditor. Okay, so as per the law, even employee dues, workman dues are considered to be operational debt. So who is a workman? So because they are using the word employee and workman, then what is the meaning of workman? That workman is defined under the Industrial Dispute Act. So you have to take the definition from the Industrial Dispute Act. Okay. Then amounts payable under any law for the time being in enforcement. So what is the meaning of amount payable under any law? Maybe in the nature of income tax. So under the Income Tax Act, you are supposed to pay the income tax. Maybe sales tax, professional tax, like there are so many taxes are there. Okay, so NCLAT, in the case of Director General of Income Tax, Admin and TBS versus Synergies Dure Automotive Limited, in this case it was held that statutory dues has direct nexus, okay, operation of the company. So why it is considered to, because it's a statutory dues. So because it's a statutory dues, why we should consider it as an operational debt. Okay, the Supreme Court has given, sorry, NCLAT, they have given an interesting observation. Okay, so because the statutory dues has a direct nexus with the operations of the company. So if you want to run the business, you are supposed to pay the statutory dues. Without paying the statutory dues, you cannot run the business. So that is why they are of the opinion that statutory dues are very essential for operating the business. So that's why it is considered to be operational debt. Okay, so in this case, it was held that statutory dues, because it is having direct nexus with the operation of the company, so that's why the statutory dues will come within the purview of the operational debt. Then whether any advance paid for the provision of goods or services, will it be included? Okay, suppose I am paying you some amount to you. Okay, in the near future you are going to render the services, or else in the near future you are going to provide the goods. Okay, so in such cases, any advance that is paid for the provision of the goods or services, will it be considered to be operational debt? Okay, so in the case of Consolidated Construction Consortium Limited versus Hetero Energy Solutions Private Limited, the Supreme Court in this case held that claims for refund of money would fall within the definition of operational debt. Okay, so whenever I am claiming the refund of money, okay, will it fall? It will fall within the definition of operational debt. Okay, so who is operational creditor? Operational creditors are those whose debt arise from the operational transactions. Okay, so from the operational transactions, if any person is entitled to receive the money, he is considered to be operational creditor. Okay, so he is giving one example, that is transactions involving goods or services which are considered necessary for the operation of the operational function of the entity. Okay, so section 5 subsection 25 defines operational debt as a claim in respect of the provision of goods or services. Okay, so the operative requirements is that claim must bear some excess with the provision of goods or services. Okay, so whenever you are giving some advance for the provision of goods or services, so from the definition you can understand that whenever there is an excess is there, some nexus is there with the provision of services or goods, then that is called as operational debt. Okay, so when you are paying an advance for the provision of goods or services, that is considered to be operational debt. So appellant had sought an operational service from the hetero. So when it contracted with them for the supply of light fittings, okay, so in this case the appellant is the Consolidated Construction Consortium Limited. So they have entered into an agreement with the hetero. Okay, so for the supply of some light fittings. Okay, so encashment of check by hetero, even though the contract was terminated, gave rise to an operational debt in favor of the appellant. Okay, so when they are trying to encash the check given by the hetero, there is a failure is there, then it amounts to operational debt. Then another question mark, what amounts to operational debt? Lease rent owed to the landlord, is it an operational debt? That is the question mark. So NCLAT 5 judge bench it is. So Jaipur, in the case of Jaipur Trade Expo Center Private Limited versus Metro Jet Airways Training Private Limited. So in this case NCLAT held that monies owed to landlords under lease or other arrangements would constitute operational debt, because you are using the land for the purpose of your business. Okay, so any money that is owed to landlords under a lease or other arrangement would constitute operational debt within the meaning of this act. The claims of tenants against the corporate debtor. Suppose there is a tenant is there, so he is claiming some amount, okay, against the corporate debtor. NCLAT in the case of D&I Taxcon Services Private Limited versus Vinod Kumar Kothari, it was held that tenant in lease on the premises of CD has a right to occupation only. So interestingly, in case of tenant, he is having only right to occupy. Okay, he don't have any right to receive. Okay, so that's why, and cannot be an operational creditor. Okay, so in case of lease, okay, so money owed to landlord under the lease agreement, that is an operational debtor. Okay, whereas in case of claim out of the tenancy, then in such cases he is having only right to occupy the premises, so that's why he is not considered to be operational creditor. Okay, then whether liquidator or unliquidated damages are included. So what is liquidator or unliquidator? So whenever you are entering into any contract whereby in case of breach, okay, how much amount the opposite person is supposed to pay, that is specified in the contract itself. that is called as liquidated. Okay, so unliquidated damages means depending on the damages I am going to assess, then subsequently the court of law is going to fix the damages. Okay, that is unliquidated. Okay, so liquidated means which is already fixed, unliquidated means which is not fixed. Okay, so whether is it considered to be operational debt? In the case of Sanjeev Kumar versus Athen Technologies Private Limited, NCLAT held that claim for damages cannot be an operational debt, because that's why no application under section 9 can be made. Okay, because you are claiming, that is not yet fixed. Okay, whenever you are claiming, it means that you are asking the opposite person to pay. Okay, so unless that is fixed by the court of law, it is not crystallized. Okay, so any claim for damages cannot be an operational debt. But where the claim for damages is crystallized, that means you went to the court of law has already accepted the claim and they gave the order or they gave the decree stating that so and so person you are entitled to receive so and so money. So in such cases the claim for damages is crystallized. Okay, then if it is crystallized, then it is an operational debt. So in a simple language, if the claim for damages is not crystallized, then it is not considered to be operational creditor debt. Okay, the claim for damages is crystallized, that is court order is there or any award is there, then in such cases it is considered to be operational debt. Then who has to prove that whether the debt is real or not? Okay, so whether there is a due is there or not. So the burden to prove claim is on the creditor. Okay, so NCLAT in the case of I Value Advisors Private Limited versus Srinagar Banilal Expressway Limited. So in this case, the NCLAT held that whenever if any creditor is claiming so and so money to be received from the corporate debtor, in such cases the burden of proving claim is on the creditor. Okay, but please remember there is no specific manner or mode in which such facts need to be proved. So depending on the circumstances, you may have some receipts, you may have some award, you may have some decree, whatever it is. So depending on circumstances you have to prove, but the burden lies on the operational creditor only. Okay, so assignment of debts, dues not change the nature of the debt. Okay, so here please remember, merely by assigning, suppose if I am assigning my right to receive the debt to other person, okay, then will it change the impact? Will it change the law? No. Okay, it will not change the position. Okay, so even if you are assigning the debts to opposite person, some other person, then in such cases, such other person to whom the assignment is made, he is considered to be operational creditor. So he is having a right to file the claims. It was held in the case of Co-op Robobank UA Singapore branch versus Shailendra Ajmera. So it was held by the NCLAT that assignment of debts, dues not change the nature of the debt. Let us recap what we have discussed till now. In this chapter, in this session, we have discussed who is operational creditor. Then subsequently, we have discussed claims. We have discussed that operational creditor means any claims arising out of provision of goods or services. So what is operational debt? Operational debt means any claims which is arising out of provision of goods and services. Then subsequently we have discussed the definition of goods and services, the meaning of goods and services. Then in the next class we are going to discuss the procedure for application by the operational creditor. So in this lesson we have discussed the legal provisions under the IBC. Then in the subsequent sessions we are going to discuss the procedural aspects. Okay, so legal part we have discussed in this session, procedural part we are going to discuss in the next session. So thank you.